All right, now today we want to use certain vocalises and find out why we use them and what they do for us. So the first thing is we must identify the reaction inside, really from top to bottom, from head to toe, what really happens. I always tell everybody if they study yoga, yoga really does sensitize you and you become aware of every little tiny movement in your body. And that is wonderful for singers and people that have to be very still at what they do, right? And it's very important to say, if you want to move something, you should be able to move it if you want to, but you don't move the air column and you don't move your relationship between your throat and your diaphragm. There are certain areas that should be absolutely inviolate. We do not change them at all if we can help it once we get them established, see? So we're going to do a certain number of vocalises. They have different, I didn't make them up. I either stole them, borrowed them, or was given them by great singers. Every one of these I use was given to me by a great singer, or I stole it from him listening. But one of them is bob, bob, bob. To use a consonant that closes the nose. If I do ma, 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 my nose is open and the voice will not carry well over an orchestra at all, especially in big orchestras and big theaters. And if you do hear something, it's usually very thin sounding. There have been certain singers that had to leave the Metropolitan Opera because they sang nasally and they got there and they could have no success because the voice was sitting down too low in the resonance. It was a false resonance. It's called a false mask. So if I go ma, 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 that's the bad one, or that's the low one. That's resonating here. But if I close my nose, in other words, when I say the consonant B, my nose closes. So I go ma, 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 ba, 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 ba. Now the resonance is now sitting way up here in the mask, what Lily Lemon called the upper front half of the skull. And I go ba ba be 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 ba 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 ba. Now, what I want to do is once I've done this, we've talked about breathing a lot. You always breathe down behind you, very low. Some singers like Caruso and Lily Lemon, but even Joan Sutherland, some of the modern singers that I've known pull the abdomen inward when they breathe in. Never push the abdomen out. If you do, the voice goes in your nose. But if I push my belly out and take your breath, I go, ah, it's in my nose. So breathing is essential. Every one of these vocalises requires that you breathe a certain way, which is way down behind you. The action-reaction that is dictated us by the third law of motion in physics that says for every action there's an equal and opposite reaction. That law of physics tells us that if I breathe down and back, my soft palate or something will go up and forward. And when I do that, I exploit that law of physics, and I breathe down, way down behind me, and I go, ah, now my nose is closed. Now, what we want to do is use vocalises to help us accomplish that. Theoretically, it's not necessary, but it's the more we can pour it on and the safer we are. I'm 82 this year, and I'm still singing. And believe me, I do these things all day long, every day. And I sing all day long, every day, and I can still croak out some noise. So that's fun, if nothing else. So I'm going to take a deep breath. I'm going to say ba 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 ba. Now, what I want to do now is not have to use these consonants and these vocalises and these instigators, I love to call them, because they begin to cause something to happen. I don't want to use them in performance. I want to stand up and just sing. So let's see if I can identify how I'm singing. When I use these instigators, I'm going ba 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 ba, ah. How am I singing? So what I do is I do the exercise, and then I stop, and then I re-attack on an ah or something, or an o, or a piece of music, and I find out how do I keep singing the way I was when I did the instigator, and it caused things to happen. So I go ba 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 ba. Breathe. ba 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 ba. I identify, if I can. I repeat, so I get a somewhat habitual, and it makes me identify over and over and over. And then I apply. I apply this process to my singing. So once I go, breathe, ba 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 ba, see? Then I can sing like that without any problem at all. See? Breathe. Ba 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 ba. Che gelida manina se ne lasci riscaldare, cercar che giova, ba 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 ba, cercar che giova, ba ba ba, al buio non si trova. So, obviously, if I do enough of these things, it will become a habit. It will become something that is there without me having to think about it so much, because I don't want to have to think about technique. Now, that's the whole question. We don't want to get in performance and have to make these funny noises. I don't want to have to go ba 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 before every entrance I sing in the opera. See? There's only been one singer that we know of that made the deliberate audible attack over and over and over and over to place his voice. One of the exercises you do for men's voices, especially, is the falsetto attachment. Some of the ladies did it too, but they do it from the chest to the head voice. They go, oh, 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 oh. So the idea is to identify the down and under. Now there are some recordings of very old-timey singers who would do that deliberately. They would do it in public. They would do it anywhere. They wouldn't care. But the singer I was going to mention before, who seemed to have to do it on almost every note all the time, was Beniamino Gigli, one of the greatest singers in history. Certainly had the fabulous voice. Some people think second only to Caruso himself, right? So Gigli used several techniques, but one of them he used was what's called the falsetto attachment. So I go, ooh, ah, ooh, ah. Now my breath is leaned forward on my diaphragm. Remember, I breathe behind me. I go, ooh, ah. Now if I stop my falsetto and go, ooh, ah, ah, identify the process of going, ooh, ah, right? Then I practice it. Ooh, ah, oh. Pretty soon I've got a good idea of where my point of attachment is. You feel that little pulse down there. I can always reinforce the pulse by doing staccati. Ooh, ah, 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 ah. Now, once I've identified and practiced it, guess what? I apply it to my singing. So I go, ooh, ah, ah, see? Ooh, ah, ah, ma mère, je la vois, oui, je la vois, mon village. Why shouldn't I just sing now? If I know the process, I know where my connection is, my attachment. I know where the point of leaning of my breath is. I know where the point of attachment is. You got all these terms they used to use in the old days about attachment and leaning and this and that. But you can see what happens. My breath is behind me. I lean the breath forward and go, ooh, ah, ah. Now, if I want to, let's say that, let me find, ooh, ah. This is in itself one of the exercises that we practice. It comes in later, but it's combined with the others. If I go, whoo, the breath blows like crazy and it leaks. Whoo, if I go, whoo, ah, now the paper is not moving. So I want to sing that way. Ooh, ah, ah. Remember that one? Ba 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 ba. Ah, ah, ah. So I want to use the result of particular vocalises with a particular way of breathing. When I do, I get very dependable, and my notes are there. I can expect my high notes. I can not worry about anything. All I have to do is practice this until it gets in my bones, and I know exactly what I want to do all the time. Imagine an attack that is there and always reliable and always waiting for you. It's just an application. I apply this. I apply it physically and mentally, sometimes emotionally. I have to accept it, right? But once I do that, what is it? In other words, I can just sing there, and I've already done my work of placement, of breathing, of all of those things. All I do now is just apply it. Same thing. If I had to go all the time while I'm performing, it would, well, first, nobody would accept it. With Geely, they accepted, and he would do that all the time. Instead of the long one, he did the short one. But look. The falsetto still leaks, and the leak stops when I attach it to my diaphragm. So he used that all the time to keep the voice located, identified, attached to his diaphragm, applied. So I can sing. If I sing like Geely, I get do I really want to go questa quella per me mi sono accordato di torno? But he did it. He did it, and the voice was fantastic, and nobody cares whatsoever. You can do it all you want to if you can get away with it. You do anything you want to get. But sometimes, especially on recordings, man, when you're making recordings and they hear all those extra noises, extracurricular sounds, they say, whoa, what's that? You can't do that. So you're not supposed to really, at least artistically, you shouldn't do anything that the composer didn't write. If the composer didn't write, we're not supposed to do it. So we have this little series of exercises that we started doing, and I started with ba 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 boo 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 una furti. If I can find boo 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 una furtiva lagrima. You'll hear very often the tenors on the ma go flat, or something will happen because the M opens the nose. See? Una furtiva lagrima. It's not a sound you want anyway. Why not just keep it applied, right? Let me know the right note here. Hold on. Oh, yeah, I'm on the right note. What do you know about that? So I go, ba 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 boy 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 boo. Una furtiva lagrima. It's not only the placement and identification, the placement. It's identification of a way of being. I breathe. I go ba 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 ba. Now, what is my total state of being? Think about it. I got my breath way down on my back. Whatever's happening up here, my soft palate moves up and forward and closed my nose. All these things are happening because I took a breath and said a consonant B. If I can get myself to say all these notes, ba bi 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 boo 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 ba 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 ba, but when we don't want to do them in performance, we want anybody to hear them. So I have to school them, practice them, repeat them over and over and over until they get identified, habitual, right? And then I can apply it to the music I'm singing. So we keep going. Let's go down. What about the lip clamp? Here's another one. It's not an M and it's not humming. It's not that. It's a lip clamp. So the idea is to identify, locate, identify, then process it through your entire system. The more yoga you do and the more still you can become and the deeper you're breathing in your lower back, the more secure this becomes. And after a while it becomes totally reliable. And I'm 82 and I can still croak out some noises because of this stuff. I learned this stuff from great singers. There's not one vocalist I have on this in my records that I didn't steal or borrow or somehow be given from some great singer. And it all worked for them. And I got a lot of them. I didn't get all of them, but I got a lot of them, you know. So if I go ba 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 ba, for instance, when I talked to Leonard Warren about singing, I've got a videotape about it, about the static diaphragm. He said, hold this dead still, take a deep breath, don't let it move, and then sing like you're about to sneeze. The pre-sneeze method. So we go like this. So now take a deep breath and go. How are you today? It's so nice to be here. What I find now, do nothing. I'm going to stand here like this. I'm going to take a breath. How are you today? I don't know what happened, but I'm in that program, and that program is running. Once I initiate a program, I leave it running. So the whole idea is, you can call them initiations, you can call them, instigator, call them vocalizes, call them whatever you want to. But we're supposed to do something that after we practice for a while, lets us get up and sing. Your limitation should be your breathing, never your vocal. Your vocal cords will stretch forever. Your lungs will stretch forever if you can get your rib cage open. And George London used to say all the time, nothing moves unless the breathing moves it. So I'm not allowed to stand there and spread my ribs like that. I have to breathe. And then look at the ones we've done. Ba, 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 ba. Ah. What about, well, we did, let's see, what's the next one we did? We did the clamp. Right? Then we did the clucks. I call them clucks, so it's like a big chicken going, oh, ooh, ah, ooh, ah, oh, oh, oh. Do I really need to do oh before every note? Or ah, ah? Look, I'm not worthy to criticize a man like Benjamin Ogili. I don't even mean it as a criticism. I'm throwing it out there for all the young singers who are going to have to work with stage directors and conductors to figure out how that thing works so you can use it, because the conductors sometimes and the stage director have a fit if you're up there making funny noises that are not on the score. You want to look at someone and say, I love you, you go, I love you, and then they don't like it a bit. It may sound great, and all the singers, and the audience will love the sound sometimes, right? But let's face it, we don't really know what we're doing all the time. Now let's try something a little different, like breath of fire. I put it way down in my lower abdomen, really in my pelvic bone, and I go, on my tailbone, I go. Now, if I sing in the middle of that, what happens? Ha, ha, ha. Lo mobile qual fiume bello mutata cielo e di bel cielo. I don't want to do that in the middle of performance. But if I walk around doing that all day, guess what? I get very alive, very, very energetic, full of stamina. It develops your stamina. I mean, so far, after a lifetime of messing around with yoga and martial arts, I did martial arts for years, and all these times I've done Tai Chi a lot. You after a while begin to understand that it does something for you, even if you still can't define it. Like way back when you read all the history of yoga, and they imagined there was a snake coiled around their tailbone, and they would energize from the tailbone, or they would meditate on the spot and let the energy flow from there. So a lot of it is kind of imaginary, and now it's a little bit more scientific. They know that if you do breath of fire, you do it down low, you're activating your diaphragm like crazy, see? So if I go ba 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 ba, ah, or breath of fire, ah, how do I do it? See? Think about it. Whoop. In van nascondo la mia vera tortura. That's the breath of fire result. See? Ba 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 ba. In van nascondo la mia vera tortura. The point is that they all work. They all work because they're diaphragmatic. They're diaphragmatic, which is why they require that the breath be stored up in your lower back in what Manuel Garcia called the superabundance of the breath. Caruso called it massive respiration required. If I breathe massively, and I really do way down back, and I fill myself up and I go, now he said do a contrary motion. So I'm going to go, breathe. Now I'm going to sing like that. How do I do that? Breathe. Contrary motion. L'ultima danza d'una stirpe felice, te raccogliete voi. All I'm doing is a contrary motion to the way I'm inhaling. See how organized this gets after a while, and every one of them, as I will repeat over and over and over and over, they're all dependent on breathing. All of them. See? Now let's try something else. Let's try an activator, really specifically in the diaphragm. What if I go, halla? When I hit that double L, it creates a funny kind of resistance that kicks the voice into that diaphragm. And I go, halla, halla. And you'll hear some singers use, even Caruso in his late recordings, you'll hear him use that once in a while. And there are other singers that use that, halla, halla, and they do something to activate the diaphragm. And it's not as disturbing in performance live because the sound doesn't carry over the orchestra. But it got disturbing when they started making recordings. And then the recording, of course, would pick up the sound. So it's somewhat with a happy surprise, a happy guess. It's also an activator. Trimble used it a lot. Trimble you hear on recordings using it, right? The halla, hallo, hallo, halla, halli. Now, can I now apply what I just identified? I identified it. I located it. Halla. Now can I apply it? How do I do that? Think about it, right? Halla, 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 In other words, if I can identify the correct one, if I can locate it and identify it, of course location is part of identification, right? And then what do? I simply repeat it until I've got a good concept of it. And then I apply it to my singing, to the music I have to sing, to whatever, right? I breathe in, ba 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 ba, That was number one. We did breath of fire too. Now I'm not going to make a pause. Not doing anything. Breathing on. But do I remember the breath of fire effect? If I do, I can use it when I sing. See? So it's lurking there. Whatever one you did, whatever one you practiced, whichever one you identified, it's always lurking in your brain. And it's ready, accessible for you to use it, to apply it to your music. We did a lip clamp. We did the cluck, the various clucks. Or you use it both ways. See, countertenors do it more like the ladies do it. But most tenors, and especially men in general, who are trying to find that full voice that is not all chested like that. So we don't want to do that. That's wrong. That's simply malfunction of the vocal. Pulling vocals together like that. We just want the edges to respond. So I go, some of this high tessitura singing. Right? Opening the first act of Rigoletto, the tenor's got, you got to get up there and sort of sit in the passaggio area and just sit there. Lucia's full of that. Some of the early music, especially by either bel canto composers or close to the bel canto era, like Donizetti, and even early Verdi. They will make the voice sit up high. I did a video recently called How to Find the Correct Resonance. If I've dropped my breath when I'm doing nothing, there's no action down there. See where my voice is? When I open my mouth to sing, I'll go, See? That's the way I sang it at university. And nobody knew, everybody thought I was a bass, except nobody could hear me. Yeah? Except up close. Oh, so close sounded great. See? So now I take a huge deep breath way down to my fan. And I go, ba 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 ba. Guess what? That's not a bass. You can hear that's not a bass. And then the question is, how big is my voice? What can I sing? Realistically, what can I sing? If they offer me Pagliacci, right? Can I do that? I go, is that going to be enough for Pagliacci? For Cagno? That was a breath of fire attack, see? But I could have gone, in other words, there are all these different options for me if I can identify one of the proper ways of stimulating the process of free singing. I'm free from here up. That's why it's called free singing. I'm not free in my body. I'm not free in my diaphragm. And I'm not free in my back. They're all committed. But up here, I'm totally free. So one of the ways to seek the voice, we were doing halla, halla, halla. Remember that? So what if I do that? We go halla, 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 halla. What if I just sing with the leftovers there? Right? That's what comes out. That's the amount I'm going to sing with. See? So then I go down and then I do hung line. The hung line is really a concept of resonance exercise. People that sing in the nose go ma 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 are way down here in the false mask, and the voice doesn't carry, and most of the ladies get tremolo, particularly the high voices, right? So if I identify it deliberately, I'm going to say hung. I'll use the NG to identify this. Hung. If I open my mouth and sing, I go hung. It's in my nose, so it's useless, right? You can sound pretty good with the microphone sometimes singing like that, but it is not anything you can use over a big orchestra. I was saying 64 rolls for 45 years, and I'm telling you, when you sing a lot of big operas like I did, you start finding out which ones carry and which ones don't. Not to mention you, but your colleagues. You realize a colleague over here sounds so fantastic, but sort of nasal, then he's not having any success because his voice is not being heard. So you want to be sure that you get above that, see? ba 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 up there. If I do hung, now once I identify that, I'm going to sing over it. Hung ah, ah. Once I've identified what over the hung line means, I just sing there. Ah, almost mentally imagine that hung line. See? And then I can sing there. Why not? And then you get into this business about covering. You go, all it does is make it thicker and darker, and I break nearly every rule in the history books of singing, which is change of emission, action in the throat. I'm full of things on change of form, change of shape. Caruso said never change the shape of your mouth when you go to a high note. So if I'm doing that, I'm going ba 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 ba. Now look at the shape of my mouth. Ba 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 ba. I'm not doing anything. My mouth, my shape, everything is not doing anything at all. Now, so we've done several of these. I'm going to stop now because they don't get too long. And I'll continue. I must have at least a couple more of these to do. Okay? So I'm coming. Look for me. I'm coming.